Kip, what's up, man? Glad to be joining you. We're doing things a little different today, so we thought we'd try something new, which is video. You're definitely going to bring this
That look good.
down, the rankings down, now that we're doing video.
They're like, that's what Kip looks like? Screw that. I hate AMAs.
Well, I was telling you earlier, the reason I wanted to do this is I was having a good beard day today, so.
Yeah, got to show off the beard.
That's right, man. And yes, it is a thing, guys. It is a thing. You know, just like you have good hair days, I'm having a good beard day.
In fact, your beard looks so good that we couldn't get the mic working properly. And I actually think Ryan was able to hear me because his beard picked up the vibrations of the conversation.
They're like antennas.
Like superpowers. Yeah.
That's what it is. That's exactly what it is. Yeah, guys, we're going to do this different. For those of you who don't even know what the hell we're talking about in the first place, this is our Ask Me Anything. So Kip and I are fielding questions from the Facebook group and Iron Council and Patreon and just about anywhere you can find us. So we'll be answering those questions. But the thing that we're doing different today is we're doing video because I was thinking to myself, in 2019, I want to do more video for YouTube specifically. We've got all this content. We might as well make it available on YouTube as well. And then I had made a video post the other day somewhere. I think it was on YouTube or Instagram, wherever it was. And I was getting after guys who were waiting until 2019 to start their New Year's resolutions. I said, just what are you waiting for? Just start right now. So I figured I'd take a little bit of my own advice and just launch this thing. And if you're tuning in on YouTube, then just bear with us. We're going to get better at this, just like we'll get better with audio and everything else. And yeah, I mean, you got a little guy above your shoulder there. I don't know who that guy is, but
I drew that during a meeting last week because I was bored.
I can tell you were bored. Who is that guy?
I have no idea.
Just a random guy. All right,
just
cool.
A random drawing.
Cool.
See, now we're going to have to start being all careful. Like no more doing the podcast in my underwear. Now I have to worry about what's.
I wish I wouldn't have known that, man. I didn't know that. I'm glad that I didn't, but now I do. So,
well, you want to do video when you have a good beard day. I'm going to do video when I have good ab day.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right, guys. Let's get into the questions. We got some good questions today. I think we're actually going to start filtering the questions a little bit too, because we've got so many questions, and most of them are really good. 90% of them are really good. 10% are really not good. So we're going to start filtering these questions so we can make sure that we are addressing the most relevant conversations and topics.
Yeah, and don't take it personal, guys, if we don't get...
No, take it personal. Just improve your questions.
Change.
That's right. Change. Get better.
All
right. What do we got for question one, man?
Question number one, Philip Goncalves. Do you guys struggle with temptation to cheat, or have you overcame that in some way?
Dude. Sorry. I was so excited to answer this question. Keep going. Sorry.
Okay. I never had sex with anyone apart from my wife, and the curiosity is eating me inside.
Okay. I'm glad I let you keep going because I didn't realize he was talking about like cheating on your partner. Cause I was going to say, yes, I want to cheat and like cheat myself all the time. But now that I know
good thing you didn't say yes.
Yes. I have never, ever in my entire life been tempted to cheat on my spouse. I can say that with 100% certainty and conviction because I think that is one of the absolute most disgusting, worst things that you can do. When you commit to another human being, then you fully commit. Now, look, that's not to say that I'm not a man, right? I mean, I can recognize an attractive woman walking down the street. I can appreciate the beauty in even another woman that isn't my wife, but I have never, ever been tempted to step out on her because I made a commitment and I'm a man of my word. I don't know how else to say that other than don't. Yeah. And if you have, fix it, rectify it. Fix the problem, correct the problem. We've had guys who, friends of ours, in fact, who have stepped out on their wives and through communication and us talking, you know, they've told their spouses, and some of these guys have actually gone through divorces because of it. Other guys have been able to salvage and repair the relationship to some degree. I'm just telling you, it's not good.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to say it. No, never.
Well, and this is, there's two parts of his question, right? One is the curiosity is eating at me. Well, first off, get past that.
Be curious with your wife, dude.
Yeah, dude.
Like you've got this beautiful, this woman that you're attracted to. Explore with her. Be curious with her. Like be spontaneous. Take her out. Woo her. Try to win her over. Court her. Continue to court her. Experiment. Try new things within the confines of the boundaries and parameters in which you've established for yourselves. Yeah. But you don't need to go out and create. The grass is not always greener on the other side. Yeah. Create some of that for yourself in your current relationship.
And Ryan, if you don't mind, like I think we have to say this, right? Because I think some guys that are listening right now may struggle with relating to you, right? Because at this point you're going, hey, never done whatever. Well, they're obviously Philip, as well as other guys, do struggle with this, right? And so I would suggest to you guys, the temptation to cheat, what's the foundation of it? Is it because you feel great because you're getting attention from someone else, because you feel loved, or you know what I mean? Like, because something is more likely lacking in your marriage and you're looking elsewhere for it? Then if that's the case, then fix the marriage, right? Make the necessary adjustments so you don't have the temptation or the emotional benefit of looking for affection and or affirmations or whatever from someone else, right? Like I do think that's where most temptations come from. I really do. I don't know. I might be wrong, but if I had to assume, I would assume most temptations to cheat are founded on the idea that the individual does not feel loved and there's something lacking in their current relationship.
Yeah, I mean, if something wasn't lacking, they wouldn't go out and actively seek it, right?
Totally.
So I think that's a fair assessment.
Which is a mad prop to your wife with the fact that, like, dude, this is not even on my radar. That tells me, hey, things are good in the Mickler home, right?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
So, no, not always, but never to the degree where I think that that's ever acceptable.
Yeah.
And I don't even think, if you're going through a separation, no, not during a separation. You're still married.
Yeah.
If you're in the process of a divorce, no, you're still married. And I would even go so far as to say, don't have sex with another woman, even when you're freshly out of a marriage. That also is a recipe for disaster. I don't think morally, maybe there's nothing wrong with that necessarily, other than I think you probably should wait until you're married to have sex. But I think there's so much baggage that comes with connecting with a woman physically like that, that if it's not done in the confines of a committed relationship, it poses all sorts of serious problems. And I'm a huge advocate of being married in order to engage in sex.
Yeah. And your head's not right during a separation and during a divorce. Right. You are going into a relationship all just jacked up and messed up. It's not going to be a good time.
Yep. 100%. Cool. What else?
Cool. Michael J. Jankaj.
We got some good names today.
I know, dude. Like, I swear these guys make these names up. They change them on Facebook just to like trip me up.
That's right.
All right, gents, me and my friends are so far a small group of men from Central Europe trying to establish an online manhood fellowship. Any advice for us? No, come on, dude. Go ahead, Mike.
Just do what I did.
Join the Iron Council. Yeah, find the other guys in the Facebook group that are in your region, or better yet, get a good number of Europe guys together, and we'll do a Order of Man meetup.
There you go. That would be cool. I'd be all about that. Australia. I get a lot of guys from Australia talk about that too. Yeah, I mean, definitely. We've already created that, right? So join us. Now, that being said, if you want to create your own thing, just do what we did. Just like follow the model. I mean, look, success leaves clues everywhere. So if you want to do something, it's probably safe to assume that somebody else has already done it. If you want to be a great Brazilian jiu-jitsu tacticianer, then find somebody who's good at jiu-jitsu. If you want to be an Olympic powerlifter, find an Olympic powerlifter, buy their books, buy their courses, do exactly what they do. If you want to be successful in your relationship, find other men who are great husbands, who are successful in the relationship and have been married for 30, 40, 50, 60 years, and ask what they've done in order to create that. It's already there. The blueprint is there. We have this crazy, and look, I get it. We have this independence and this creative mindset where we want to create something, and there's times to be creative. And there's times where you shouldn't be creative, where you should just mimic what everybody else has already done. And it's likely through those activities and exercises that you're going to yield similar results. Yeah. So if you're looking to create something like we've created, just do what I did. Or if you're not interested in creating that, you just want to be part of that, then it's probably more efficient just to tap into what it is that we've already done.
Yeah, which is, you can learn more, Michael, at orderofman.com/Iron Council. And just so you know, for the European/Asian, Asia Pacific listeners, we have a battle team actually getting ramped up right now in your guys' time zone. And we have a number of international guys within the Iron Council. So, you know, you would be with like-minded men, obviously not as probably geographically close to each other, but at least in the same time zone. And the way that things are growing, you know, it's just probably just a matter of time until we get more guys in Central Europe. So.
Yep. And you guys, your team, Team Echo, probably 6 months ago or so, did an actual meetup where you guys hiked and did a camp out for 2 or 3 days, I think. So there's a lot of local opportunities, regional opportunities, I should say, in addition to what we're doing digitally.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Cool. I got all excited with the idea of doing an Order of Man meetup in Europe or Aussie. That'd be
I think
awesome.
We should do that.
I think we should make it happen, guys. Give us the
South
numbers.
Korea. Now we got 2 guys in South Korea. So
yeah,
we'll be there before too long.
All right, next question. Jeff Daggle, any advice for an expecting father? I have a niece and a nephew, but of course it's not the same. Any advice on raising a child in this crazy current society?
Yeah, the best advice I could give you is render yourself obsolete. That's it. Everything that you do, everything that you engage in, every experience, every conversation, everything that you do, and granted, this will happen a little as he or she gets older, is designed to put yourself out of a job. If more parents, more fathers understood that was the mission, I think the world would be a better place. But we have these helicopter parents. We have these people who want to come in and swoop down and rescue their children from any bit of challenge or adversity. And quite frankly, it's selfish. That's what it is. It's selfish. Yeah. If you can't teach your child to be self-sufficient and self-sustaining, it's not anything that doesn't speak to the child. It speaks to your inability to get over your own damn feelings and do what's in the kid's best interest. To save a child every time he gets in a little bit of a challenge, and I'm not saying a dangerous situation, I'm saying some adversity, some challenge. If you come in and you swoop down and you rescue those kids, you are doing them a huge disservice.
Yeah.
So there's a point in time early, of course, where they're a baby, where it's, look, the mother is going to play a significantly larger role, because what does the baby do? Eats, shits, sleeps, and cries. And frankly, there's not a whole lot you can do about that. And that's great. Like where a mother comes in with nurturing and empathy and love, and not that men can't exhibit those things, but generally speaking, that is more exhibited by women. As your child gets older and develops and starts to interact and speak and has some motor skills, and as my boys get older and my daughter, and we're able to wrestle around and throw a baseball and interact more, I become more engaged. My wife even talk about it with our youngest, because our youngest is 2.5 now. And we were just talking about this the other night. I said, he's becoming mine, right? Because we can notice like when the shift happens, like specifically my boys have started to like shift away from mom, and now they're over more towards like, now I want to be with and like dad. So you'll start to get more engaged. But again, your job as a father is to render yourself obsolete.
Totally. To your point, Ryan, I mean, I think too that when we swoop in and save Timmy when he's struggling, when he's younger, we're just perpetuating for when he gets older. And then the consequences for actions get more severe as the older they get. And so what are you going to do when we've always saved our child from pain and suffering, and then all of a sudden they turn 19 and 18 and go off to college?
Right.
Dude.
Well, these are those kids who come back and move in with mom and dad, and they can't make it, and they can't find a job, and they don't have any money. That's your fault as a parent. Are there some outlying experiences? Maybe. Yeah, sure. But for the most part, barring some sort of physical or mental incapacity to do those things, that's your fault if your kids are coming back and doing that stuff because you didn't teach them the lessons or you didn't allow them to learn the lessons that needed to be learned.
Yeah. You know, one thing that came to mind when you're sharing, Ryan, is for me, I think my lessons learned from my older kids is just the importance of being intentional.
Mm-hmm.
That the idea that now I got to act now. There's no like, oh, when work slows down or when things get, when I get more time, then I'll spend more time with them. Dude, I think we have to be, as fathers, we have to be very, very intentional and plan and just really take advantage of the time that we have, because it goes by so quick.
One of the things it's kind of weird, it's morbid actually, is I've really been contemplating my own death. And I know that sounds like, oh, that's morbid. It is a little bit, but dude, I'm going to die. Like that, like if that thought doesn't drive you to do something different with your life, you might be a psychopath. Like you're going to die. And that's not, I don't say that so that you feel bad about that. I say that so that you understand that we have a very, very short time in this life before we're dead. And nobody fully knows what happens when we die. I have faith. I have some belief in what happens, but I don't fully know. So I've got this experience that we call life to take advantage of. And I don't know if it ends tomorrow or today or if it ends in 50 years. I have no idea, but I want to make the most of it. Yeah. Just last night, my son, I coach my oldest son's basketball team. And we got home and he went and got in the shower and mom had left some food on the table for him and I, or food on the stove for him and I. And he went and got in a shower and I went upstairs and I was checking some messages on my phone in my room. And he got out of the shower. He went downstairs. He got himself some food and he sat down and I heard him down there. And then he came up and he's like, Dad. And he yelled from downstairs. He said, Dad, will you come downstairs and eat with me? And I caught myself. I'm like, dude, what are you doing right now? You're on your damn phone and your son wants to spend some time with you and have a conversation with you over dinner and you're on your phone?
Yeah.
So I said, yeah, absolutely. Because I caught myself. I put my phone down immediately. I went down there, had some dinner. We had a couple little conversations. The conversations weren't life-altering, significant conversations, but they were at the same time because we sat down and we engaged. You do that enough over and over and over again, there's going to come a point in time where I don't have that opportunity, where I would give anything, literally anything, to be able to sit down and have a conversation with any one of my children, and that opportunity won't be there. Totally. So just recognize it. This time flies, man. It really does.
You think that's morbid? I was studying Stoicism. I can't remember which book, and I don't even remember what they call this practice. It's like a negative visualization, I think is what they called it, or something else. But the author suggested that Stoics, what they would do is often contemplate not only their death, but the death of their loved ones as a way to be present to the moment and what is available to them and what may fleet them, right? That they may lose. And I actually did that for a period of time, and guaranteed, do you think my goodbye to my daughters going to school in the morning were drastically different? Like I wasn't visualizing like, oh, how they would die, but no. I thought, you know what? They may die while I'm at work today. Mm-hmm. So how am I going to show up and how am I going to say goodbye to them today? Like that is so drastically different, right? And it was profound. It really made me be a lot more present when I was with them by practicing that. So I don't know. Interesting.
That's a good point. And I'm going to say something at the risk of maybe offending some people here, is it actually makes all of you guys listening a whole lot less relevant. And I know that might sound harsh because I'm here to serve you guys and I want you to thrive and I want you to win. But at the end of the day, like I got to focus on those priorities. And I think all too often we get those priorities so skewed and so backwards. You know, we're on social media and we're doing this podcast and we're on YouTube trying to impress people we don't even know.
Yeah.
More so than just being a coach to your kids. Or sitting down and having breakfast or dinner with them because I'm dinking around on Instagram trying to put a post out when I should be having breakfast or dinner with my family. So I think it's a good practice as long as it's driving you to do good things, right? Because it could also drive you to despair if you're thinking too heavily on that stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Like, or cause you to freeze up. For example, my wife and I are going on a trip this week. And if I focus and dwell so heavily on that, then I'm not going to leave. Like, I'm not going to go experience life in the way that it was meant to be experienced because I'm afraid. Right. Yeah. So we have to be very careful to use that. I don't know if negative visualization is the term, but using that in a constructive way as opposed to a destructive way
to drive action.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Cool.
What's next?
All right. Tom Gurura, how to push through change. I know what I need to do, what's right and what's helpful, but I don't do that. How do I push through this?
Do it. Like, I don't understand what, you know what you need to do it. Well, I'm trying to think right now as I'm saying this, like what would keep you from doing it? That it's hard, maybe, that you don't have a plan, that you don't have a system in place, that you're not tied enough to the work itself. These are all things I would think that would keep you from doing that. So what I would suggest is you figure out why the hell you're not doing these things.
Yeah.
What is it? Is it that it's hard? Is it that your schedule doesn't make it work? Is it that it doesn't really seem appealing to you? Is it because you don't think it'll actually move the needle and there's no faith in what you're doing? What is keeping you from doing it? Delve deep, drive down deep into that thing and figure out, okay, it's because I don't feel that this is actually going to move the needle. Well, maybe it won't. Maybe there's something else you should try. Or maybe you just use it to prove, okay, I don't think this will move a needle, but I'm going to try it for 30 days and see. I'm just going to experiment and see. And if it moves the needle, okay, now there's some credibility there, right? But if it doesn't move the needle, then you go back to the drawing board and figure out something that does. I think there's an underlying root of why you're not doing it, but you may not understand what it is. The closer you can figure it out, the more likely it is that you're going to do that thing or something else that's actually going to get you where you want to go.
Yeah. You know, what causes me to not take action is I think that today is special, like is the exception to the rule. Oh, you know, today's the bad day, not today. Tomorrow will be better. Like I honestly, like truly believe sometimes that today is actually unique. And it justifies some adjustment to my commitments or my schedule because, I mean, it's just crazy today, but you know, it's going to be normal tomorrow. And the irony is I'll wait forever for that normal day and it never comes. Right. So I don't know. I'm just sharing what is the number one thing that holds me back is that concept that I think today's the exception to the rule. And I
think that's totally. I think a lot of people deal with that. It's
Yeah.
kind of the mentality of like, this is the one that always cracks me up. 2019 is going to be my year. 2018 was just a warm up.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my goodness. I bet that the majority of you saying that and look, I don't want to beat you up if you have goals. Good. I think that's good. But if that's the kind of mentality that you have, like, and you're not really changing anything about what it is you're doing, then in December of 2019, you're going to say 2020 is my year. 2019 was my warm up. And you're going to say that for the next 2 decades.
Which is super sad if you think about it.
It is sad, man. It's pathetic.
Sucks.
And look, I've been there. I'll give you a great little anecdote, a little story that I dealt with. This was actually a couple of years ago, and I can't remember if I shared it here or somewhere else, but I had some fencing brought to my house because we were putting up the fence in our backyard. And the guy came over, pleasant guy, nice guy, hard worker, came over, pulled the fence off the truck, and I told him where I'd like it to be set, and he was bringing it over there, and he's like, so what is it you do for work? And I told him about Order Man and what I'm doing. He's like, man, that sounds really cool. He's like, I actually wanted to start something like that like a while back when I was, 20 or whatever. And he's probably 40 now. So 20 years ago. And I said, that's cool. Why didn't you? And he's like, well, I had a new kid, I had a new family and I had some college and I was just trying to get things kicked off the ground. And my wife and I were really struggling and things like that. And I said, oh yeah, I get that. It's always hard. Why don't you do it now? And he's like, well, like my kid, I'm paying for my kid's college and I'm busy with work and I'm about to get a promotion. And so he had all these little reasons, right? And I just thought, man, this is really sad because in 20 years, he's going to be dropping fence off to me or somebody else. And he's going to say the same thing. Oh man, I had this opportunity 20 years ago. And I was talking to this ugly bearded dude about doing this business. And I really thought about it, but then I came up with all the reasons why I didn't want to do it. He'll be saying the same thing in 20 years. And I just thought, man, how sad, but how typical, right? How many men are saying this, and they've been saying the same thing over and over and over and over again, potentially for 10, 15, 20, 40 years. Guys, we've got to do better. Yeah. We've got to understand that there's something greater and bigger and grander than we currently have, regardless of where you are right now. And we've got to tie that to some very specific actions that we will execute day in and day out, not for a year, not for 2 years, but for the rest of your life. When I make a commitment to go to the gym, it's not so I can get the 90-day beach body, although that would be great. It's so that I can be healthy for life. This is the kind of action that's required in order to achieve that level of success. So I don't have to look back on my life and say, man, I had this really cool idea 20 years ago, but I came up with all kinds of reasons and excuses as to why I couldn't do it. I wish I would have done it. And then somebody's going to say, why don't you do it now? And I'm going to come up with another list and slew of excuses to keep me from doing something great, something that I actually was intended to do with my time on this earth. Yeah. So get out there, man, make a change, figure out what that change is, figure out why you're not addressing it, and do it, get it done.
And I think getting present to the impact is critical. And we blow that off a little bit, you know, like we think, well, let's use the gym as an example. You know, it's only affecting me. You know, it's like I'm out of shape. Who cares? Until what? Your kid doesn't eat right. Your kid's out of shape. You're like, guys, what we do on a regular basis, the men and how we show up in life affects other people. It teaches our kids that this is how you live life. This is what a man is. This is what's acceptable. This is how I'm going to be. Man, the impact is massive. Do you want your kids living mediocre lives full of regret and reason for not taking advantage of opportunities and learning some grit and being difficult? Is that what you want for your kids? Then don't accept that for yourself.
Right.
You know, we have a tendency to think that it only affects us. It's massive. Mm-hmm. I mean, we could look at you, Ryan, and look at, because you chose to level up, right, and start this podcast, to start the Iron Council, what was the impact?
It's infinite. It's incalculable.
It's huge.
Right.
And what if you didn't do it? Yeah, guaranteed we could come up with a massive list of all the reasons why you shouldn't have.
Of course.
You know, you already got a day job. This podcast is not going to make you any money. It's a little side hobby. What if people criticize you for your thoughts? And there's so many reasons and excuses you could have came up with. But because you chose not to act on them or accept them as valid reasons, the impact was massive.
Yeah.
And I think each man, to your point earlier, has that level of impact, but we just don't act on it. And so we don't even know what's missing.
Right. Potential impact, right? Potentially.
Yeah, potential. Yeah. It's crazy. And it's kind of sad if you think about it.
It's only sad if you're not executing, not working towards it, but it's extremely positive and uplifting and inspiring when you see a man working towards something that he feels compelled to do.
Did you just say that you're inspiring to yourself? Is that?
Yeah. Yeah. I inspire. I look in the mirror and I just think, damn,
I'm inspired.
Figured it out, man. I'm inspired by people every day, man. I think that's why we like the underdog. I think that's why we like sports and we root for the underdog and we root for the guy who came from nothing and created everything, because we see a bit of ourselves in him. And also a little sad, sometimes we live vicariously through that individual as well.
Yeah.
You think, oh, that's awesome. Rudy, man, just this little guy who didn't really have anything going on, but just so much heart and so much determination and so much effort. And we get the same sense of feeling and pride and satisfaction. That's why, and I know I tease you about this, but that's why a lot of guys say, oh, our team did it. Our team did it. Yeah. Like you did anything more than pay a few bucks for a seat to watch these guys play. And look, I'm not beating up watching competitive sports. I don't watch professional sports outside of usually UFC. I mean, that's like the extent of it, which is the same thing essentially.
Yeah.
But I've never, ever said when somebody won, have said, we did it. Yes, we won. Because we didn't do anything.
Yeah.
I'm not so crazy to live vicariously through other people, but I am inspired by those individuals and think, man, if that person can do that, what can I do? What can I do? And what would be required in order for me to achieve levels of success that this individual has?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
All right. We better move on. I want to keep going here. Okay. Steven. What do Mr. Alphabet?
Steven Alphabet. I don't know. I don't even see his last name today. So.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
That's fine.
It's tough. All right.
He knows. He's well aware that his name is difficult to pronounce. So.
Yeah. Stephen F.
Okay.
All right. Do you hold any regrets in your life? If so, this is actually kind of ironic that this is the next question. Do you hold any regrets in your life? If so, what are they? If not, what's the benefits you find in living without regret? Not asking for myself, but I see a lot of people, men especially, regretting things they did or did not do in their lives.
We get this question asked periodically, right? And I can't really think of, honestly, I can't think of something I regret. I really can't. I can't think of something where I'm like, oh, I really regret that decision or that indecision. Because if I changed any element of my life, it would be completely different. And I'm pretty fulfilled with where I am right now. That doesn't mean that I'm not aspirational for more. It just means I'm pretty fulfilled, pretty happy, pretty satisfied with where I am. And it's like that butterfly effect. You know, you change one thing and everything else changes. So what's the benefit of living with no regret? Well, it's certainly not ignorance. What I mean by that is it's being free of regret does not mean that you are not reflecting upon your past. That's not what it means. What it means is that you're looking at your past and the choices that you've made, the great choices and the negative choices, the poor choices. And I've made plenty, but all of them have been a service to me. That's the benefit, is that I look at it and think, ooh, that was the wrong decision. So I just learned an expensive lesson there. And that's really what it is. It's an expensive lesson. Some lessons are more expensive than others. So the benefit of living a life free of regret is understanding that there's lessons to be learned. And sometimes you just got to learn things the hard way. John Wayne says, sometimes you got to get bit to learn, right? I can't remember what movie it is, but some kid that he's watching or whatever gets bit and the mom's all upset. And he's like, well, sometimes you got to get bit to learn. And that's true. Sometimes you got to touch the stove before you realize it's hot. It's just part of life. Yeah. But look, if you touch the stove and it burns you and then you do it again, you're an idiot. So figure out your poor choices, what they were, and don't make those same decisions. Make different decisions next time.
Ryan, do you think you can make the correlation that if you are living a life of regret, that you did not learn your lesson, that you didn't evolve from a bad decision?
Yeah, because you're dwelling on the past rather than using it to project into the future.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're so stuck in the past. These are the guys who are like, man, Uncle Rico, you know, from Napoleon Dynamite, if we go back 20 years, I'd take state, no doubt in my mind. And this guy's like so stuck in the past. He's wearing the same clothes he wore. He's got the same style. He's doing the same things. I mean, I know high school buddies that haven't even completely grown up since high school.
Yeah.
What are you doing? What are you doing with your life? So to your question, absolutely. These are guys who are so stuck in the past that they can't use a negative experience as a positive learning opportunity for growth in the future. So look, guys, if you're listening to this, I know there's a lot. There's probably tens, if not hundreds of thousands of you who are listening to this right now who are going through a difficult time in your life, right? You're dealing with a divorce or a separation. Maybe you have some sort of medical injury or illness that you're dealing with. It's Christmas. Sometimes that brings up, you know, some negative images or thoughts that, you know, you don't have your family around, or you aren't as wealthy as you would like, or have as many Christmas presents under the tree as you would like. And so we're all dealing with these difficult things. I would say that the longer you dwell in those things, the longer you will dwell in those things. the sooner you realize that, oh, this sucks, this is painful, what do I need to learn? And you learn it as quickly as you possibly can, the sooner you'll be able to dig yourself out of the hole in which you find yourself.
Yeah. And learn in a way that you're happy that it happened. Right. Like,
maybe not happy. Do you think happy?
Well, not,
I mean, maybe
yeah,
it is.
happy is not the right term. I mean, the best illustration of this that I have is maybe even grateful is the wrong word.
I could see that. Grateful because you learned a lesson. That makes sense. I mean, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure this out.
Yeah. So I've been divorced, horrible time in my life, but it was the most growing I've ever had in my entire life. And I honestly believe I would not even be close to the person I am today if I didn't experience it. So whatever that is, grateful for it, kind of. But I have to look at it and say, you know what? To some extent, I am grateful.
Yeah.
Because it created an opportunity for me to grow and learn, and you know what I mean, and become a better person because of it. So maybe not happy because it comes with some consequences and some negative impact and those kind of things. And those things I'm not happy about, but I am grateful for the opportunity it created for me to learn.
Yeah. I know when we started doing our podcast, our Ask Me Anything podcast, I was talking about Garth Brooks, The Dance. I think I talked about The Dance, right? I've got another song by Garth Brooks, Unanswered Prayers.
Yeah.
You heard that one?
I know that one.
So for those of you who don't know, shame on you first. But let me explain.
And if you don't know, Ryan's just going to do, it's just the first verse really quick. Just so
I got my guitar right here. You can see the bottom of it. So I can just bust that out right now. No, so unanswered prayers. So this guy, he likes this woman or loves this woman, and he's praying to God that, hey, I can marry this woman and she'll be mine for the rest of life. And
that's right.
It doesn't work out, right? It doesn't work out because things don't always work out the way we want them to. And anyways, he goes on with life and he ends up marrying somebody else and he has a family and kids and life is wonderful. And then he happens to run into this old fling from 20 years previous, right? Yeah. And he just thinks to himself, man, I'm so glad, I'm so grateful for these unanswered prayers, because look at his life now. You know, look at the happiness, look at the joy that he would have never experienced had he not had what would be a very difficult time in a breakup. We've all been through breakups or separations or divorces, and they're miserable. But look at your life now and think, man, it worked out the way it was supposed to. As long as you're willing to do what needs to be done in order to make it work out the way that it's supposed to. If you wallow in it, it's not going to serve you. But if you use it to propel you forward, it definitely will.
I'm really curious on what the list of guitar songs are that you're practicing.
Don't worry about it.
I
suck at the guitar. And you know, you suck. Every time you learn something, you suck, right? Like that's just the nature of learning new things. You suck at it for a while.
Yeah.
I have never been musically inclined. I've never really appreciated music as much as other people have. I can't hear things the way other people hear them. And so I'm like, why do I suck? The only thing I've ever done, I remember, it was in like third grade or something, and I played the recorder. You remember the recorder?
Yeah, I remember the recorder.
And so in my life, I played the recorder when I was 8 or whatever, and the guitar, which I just suck at.
Guitar's tough. That I know a couple songs on the guitar, and I switched to an ukulele because they're easier to play. Compromise, dude. Just compromise, man. Just compromise. You don't need to learn the guitar. Just do something easier. Go back to the recorder.
Yes, Satan. All right. What else we got?
All right. Tom,
trying to tempt me with compromise.
It's all right. You have good reasons, man.
Those are valid. Your excuses are valid.
Totally valid.
It's okay.
Be mediocre with me, Ryan. It's okay. All right. Tom Comley, how do you manage the grind, the monetary of a regular daily, weekly schedule? How do you stay excited and motivated about things you've done 1,000 times over?
I love the grind. I actually do. I love it. I was in the gym this morning doing the workout, and the workout was 15 rounds, every minute on the minute. It was 7 wall balls. So you take a 20-pound wall ball and toss it up 10 feet or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then once you're done with the 7, then you do a 1 squat clean. And so you could pick whatever weight you wanted. So I picked 155 pounds. So for 15 rounds, 7 wall balls, and then 1 squat clean. And I just loved it. Just the grind of it. I'm like, oh, I'm getting through it. I'm being robotic. I'm being systematic. I got to learn. I got to improve. And that's part of the way I get through it is like, how can I be that much more efficient? You know, can I explode a little faster? Can I work on my footwork a little better? Is my posture right? Is this right? Is this that? So even though you're in the middle of the grind, you can always improve yourself. And that desire to improve and the progress and the work towards that improvement is what, for me anyways, propels me forward. And I also am very good at, I think, connecting the quote unquote grind with the results that I'm after. Like, I'm very realistic about knowing that the level of results that I want to see with myself requires this specific level of grind. And the other thing I don't do is I never discount somebody's success, ever. Ever. I don't, and if I do, I catch myself very quickly and say, check yourself. And what I mean by that is if I look at somebody who's very successful, let's just take like the UFC fights. Max Holloway, Brian Ortega was the main card this last weekend. You know, I think there's a lot of commentary that says, you know, this guy was lucky or that guy, or he got a good punch, or he recovered from this or recovered from that. And I'm not just talking about this fight, but other fights as well. And these are people who are discounting what it takes to get to that level. I never do that. I don't look at a pro quarterback and think, oh, this guy just got lucky and he was in the right place at the right time. I never look at somebody who is wealthy and say, oh, mommy and daddy must have helped him along the way. Because what you're doing is you're discounting the grind that it took that individual to actually get what they have. I do the same thing with actors. Like, it's very easy to look at an actor and think, oh, well, The Rock, he's just big and athletic and handsome, and so of course, like, it's just gonna happen. Come on, like, really, you think that's all it takes? Appreciate the fact that those people who achieve high levels in any aspect of life have grinded their way through decades and decades and decades of work, which paints for me a very realistic picture about what it will take me to have success. When I get down on myself because I'm not shooting my bow as accurately as I would like, and I start looking at guys that I follow like John Dudley and Cam Hanes and Adam Greentree and Brian Call and these other guys I admire in the archery industry, I think to myself, you know what? There was probably a time where he felt like this. And the reason they are where they are today now is because when they felt like this, they kept grinding. They just kept going and kept going and kept going and kept improving. And those little things have really helped me appreciate the suffering in the midst of just doing the work.
Yeah. You've come to the realization that it's a necessity, that the grind is what must happen.
It's a prerequisite to success.
Yeah.
Now, can you have it without? Yeah, I think you could fall upon some fortunate times. I think you can win the lottery, proverbial lottery, if you will, occasionally.
Yeah.
I think there could be some fortunate events that happen, but I'd rather be a little bit more deliberate about that. And so, yeah, I know what it takes, and I appreciate what it takes, so I embrace it.
So your answer to Tom is really, you embrace it because you've connected the grind to the results. And so you don't mind the grind because you've come to the realization that, hey, this is what's necessary.
Not only is it, that's what is success. Like, that is the successful part.
Yeah. Is the grind.
The result is just the manifestation, the fruit of the grind.
Yeah.
So I want success. So I got to grind it out sometimes.
Yeah.
Now there's a difference between grinding it out and beating your head against the wall.
Yeah.
So I think having some reflection built into the process is also important. Are you beating your head against the wall, or are you grinding so that you can get stronger physically, mentally, emotionally? So there's got to be a reflection process built into the equation as well.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's a little bit of that to Tom's question, right? Is this regular daily, weekly schedule? So maybe the question to Tom is, hey, Tom, are you getting the results from that grind? You're doing this grind. Is it benefiting you? Are you improving? Are you getting success out of it? No. Then you should be reevaluating, right? That's not
the
grind,
side, though, Kip,
right? That's something else maybe.
It is. And to play the other side of this, though, is I know we've talked about this before, is you got to be very, very careful that you're realistic with your expectations too.
Yeah.
Because what a lot of guys will do is they'll go into the gym. They spent, a decade or whatever sitting on the couch, and now they're like, well, I'm gonna lose weight. I'm gonna get a 6-pack. So I'm gonna go to the gym for the next 30 days. And they're like, they don't see a 6-pack. They lose 3 or 4 pounds. They're like, this is stupid. This doesn't work. See?
Yeah.
It's like, dude, you spent 3,000 days, literally 3,000 days getting you to where you are. You think you're going to change that in 1% of the days that it took you to get there? You got to be very, very real about it too.
Yeah. Good call. All right. Tyler Pereza, what are your thoughts on intermittent fasting and time restricted eating? I hear a lot about it from many in the health and fitness realm, but it's something I struggle mightily with. Curious to know what you think about it, or if either of you have tried and looked into it.
I've tried it and I've had some success with it. I haven't done it lately, but I am going to be getting back into it. But I've had a lot of success with intermittent fasting. And some people say, well, it only works because you're restricting your calories. I think that might be part of it. But there's actually a lot of research and science that's coming out that's saying that, and look, I'm not an expert on this, so don't quote me, but the science and the data that comes out and suggests that the way that our body burns fuel and uses energy with the program of intermittent fasting makes your body that much more efficient in burning fat. So not only is it potential calorie restriction, but it's also physiological, meaning that the way your body is burning the calories, using the fuel, and your metabolism is actually operating more efficiently on an intermittent fasting type diet. Although, again, I am not the expert. Please don't quote me on that. That's just what I've seen and been my experience.
Yeah. And I've done intermittent fasting as well, and I've had success with it. There's a bunch of guys that I know that intermittent fast, and it works out perfect with my schedule because I try to do jujitsu at lunch at noon. So I'm not going to eat before then. And so my window, my eating window, whatever the term is that they use, is 2 p.m. to 10 p.m.
Yeah.
That's kind of my window.
Mine, when I was doing it, and what I'll go back to, was between 11 and noon. So let's just say 11 to 7. So
11 to 7.
An 8-hour window. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and I actually just started again this week. So
you look better already. I mean, I can tell.
Yeah. It's like it worked instantly, but it's only because I got that testosterone shirt.
That's right. That's the only reason.
Which, by the way, I didn't even think about this. So I got it in the mail, the testosterone shirt, which you guys can order online at orderofman.com.
Yeah.
And
good plug.
yeah, so I got the shirt and I was super excited. I threw it on. I'm like, hey, honey, check out my shirt, right? And then my 7-year-old goes, what's SEX? And she's like, take the shirt off. I was like, damn it.
I know. I had some guy get mad.
So I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I can't, maybe I'm going to wear this to the gym or something.
That's right. I had some guy get mad the other day, or not the other day, like when we first came out with those shirts, he's like, would you wear that around the kids that you're coaching at church? I'm like, no, of course not. But that doesn't mean that I wouldn't wear it to the gym or with the guys. Like, would you wear what you wear to bed to church? No, it's a stupid question.
Well, and it's
not appropriate.
Yeah,
but
and it
there
doesn't
are times where it is,
and it doesn't make the message wrong. It's just,
that's what I'm saying.
It's not the right message for my 7-year-old. I want to wait until she's a little bit older to have that message, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, super funny.
All right. What else?
Where are we at? Zach West. I work as a semi driver for FedEx. I don't know why, but it makes me nervous that he mentioned his name and where he works. But regardless, Zach at FedEx. I start my days at the same time, but never know when I'll be done. Could be 9:30. Could be, I think he's using military time. Could be, I have to do the math, man. Or could be 1:30. How can I make battle plans if I never know how much time I'll have outside of work on a daily basis?
Well, you just build in flexibility. So let's say, for the sake of argument, you have, without a doubt that 99% of the time you're going to be done by 1:30. Yeah. So now you can have a very formulated schedule from 1:30 to whatever works with your family dynamic, right? Or your personal dynamic. Now you can also have buffer activities. So maybe there's some additional activities that you can do periodically, or you can even do next day's activities if you get done with work early. Let's say you get done at 11 one day. You got 2 extra hours. Well, what's on the docket for tomorrow? What activities need to be done? So you plan now a week ahead of time. And so you can see like, oh, I've got to get this, and this done. So I'll just plug this into this 2-hour gap and I'll do this. And then I'll go back to my schedule at 1 o'clock and do my consistent schedule at that point. I mean, I do this every day. I'm sure you do too. Sometimes I have an appointment that cancels, or a podcast that falls through, or I get done with a meeting faster than I thought it would, or a blog post doesn't take as long as it normally does. And so I have these little buffers and windows. So what I do, I look at what else needs to be done, slot it into there, get it done, and then get back onto my schedule. So it's a very efficient way of maximizing your schedule. You have the schedule, then you have these buffer slots that you can fill in with other activities when those opportunities present themselves.
Yeah. And Zach, you mentioned that you always start work at the same time. So the really tough schedule things, maybe they need to happen before work, right? If you're struggling with getting the workout in, towards the end of the day, maybe you have to do it first.
Yeah.
Right. To ensure that it's there. So
yeah, great point.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, occasionally you do. I know it's a rarity, but occasionally, you have some good points, and I want to make sure I acknowledge those things.
I appreciate that. It makes me feel appreciated.
You should.
And valuable. Thank you.
You are.
Nate, Judy, what is your process when it comes to setting and following through on your goals? What have you found to be most effective weekly, monthly, any specific categories, etc.?
Well, in the Iron Council, we use the 12-week battle plan. So the battle plan is a 12-week process where we identify key objectives in 4 main categories. So those categories are your condition, which is physical fitness, physical health; your calibration, which is getting right with yourself and spirituality, if that's something that you're interested in; your connection, which is the relationships you have with other people, whether that's a spouse or a child or colleagues or coworkers or friends; and then contribution, which is the way that you become a man of value in your community and also in your workspace as well. So those are the 4 main categories. And we come up with objectives in each one of those, 12-week objectives. Then from there, we work backwards into daily tactics that will inevitably produce the results that we're after. We talked about this a little bit earlier today.
Yeah.
So you work backwards into the tactics, and these tactics should be measurable so that you can check them off, literally check them off. I did this today. I did this today. I did this today. And you check those things off. And then we also establish 30-day and 60-day checkpoints. So you can understand if what you're doing, and we talked about this earlier too, the tactics that you're engaged in are actually moving you towards the desired objective. I don't overthink it. It's very simple. So a lot of people say, well, Ryan, what's your 1-year plan or 2-year or 10-year plan? I don't know. I don't even know what I'm having for dinner tonight. But what I do know is I know my 90-day objectives. And I also know to some degree what will be my next 90-day objective, but I'm not too focused on that right now. I know that's coming up, but I'm just going to focus on my 90-day objectives and be very robotic, systematic, and the grind, if you will, like we were talking about earlier, in accomplishing the tasks that I've identified that will get me to point B or C or D or Z or wherever it is I'm after.
Yeah.
That's it.
There you have it. For more detail, buy Ryan's book.
Yes.
It's outlined very well.
Yeah, it's in the last section. You're going to walk away in the book, Sovereignty, the Battle for the Hearts and Minds of Men. You're going to walk away with a very specific not only a specific strategy, but I actually challenge you to create your own first battle plan. This is a perfect time to do it. We're December, 12th. I think this will be released on the 14th 12th. Or 15th.
Yeah.
12th, whatever day it'll be released, 12th. Middle of the month, right? So, perfect time to start working on that battle plan, hit the ground running in January, and you're off to the races. Yeah.
And give it a whirl now. You have 2 weeks. Get 2 weeks in. Iron out the process a little bit before the new year starts.
We do this in the Iron Council too. We all go through and we evaluate our battle plans. We work in teams. So the guys are critiquing battle plans and helping their team members flush these ideas out and get down to tactics that they can measure. And we're talking about these things and we do them on the every calendar quarter. So January, first quarter, April, second quarter, and so on.
Cool. All right. Next question, Howard L., which is another kind of question related to last month's topic. actually in the Iron Council, or actually was it this month?
Which one? What's the topic?
So the question, well, I'll read the question.
Okay.
What process do you use to prevent yourself from reacting or being colored by your emotions? How do you mitigate your own hubris in thinking that you have made an objective choice and not made a confirmation bias?
So I think that's two different things, right? For
Yeah,
the first one, with regards to not acting emotional, I think what was the term you used? Not acting emotional?
Prevent yourself from reacting or being colored by your emotions.
Okay, yeah. So the answer to that is margin, right? The answer to that is space. Because anytime you engage with somebody in the moment, you're probably going to be somewhat emotional.
Yeah.
Positive or negative, right? You're going to be overly excited, overly happy, overly even optimistic. You're going to get your hopes up, and then they're going to be squashed because it didn't work out. Or you're going to be pessimistic, or you're going to be mad, or jealous, or resentful, or whatever. It's going to be positive or negative. So the best way is not to react, is to build into a system a level of disengagement and margin so that you can think clearly about it. Like, I can't tell you how often I've gotten messages on social media, for example, and I just wanted to type back, like, I'm going to get this guy, right? And so I like get really emotional and heated because they're like attacking me or getting after me. And then I just pause and think, I'm like, you know what? I'll just put it down, just go do something else for a little bit. And I come back and I'm like, oh, this guy didn't actually even mean what I thought he meant. Or even if he did, there's not really a reason for me to get worked up and heated about it. But that space that I create for myself is what allowed me to think more clearly and not be so reactionary to what other people are doing. Yeah. So that's what I would say there. Now, remind me of the second part of that, because it was a little different.
Yeah. How do you mitigate your own hubris in thinking that you have made an objective choice and not made a confirmation bias?
Well, I just look at the results.
Yeah.
So we talked about building in some sort of review process. You just look at the results. What are the results telling you? Are the results telling you that you're progressing? If they are, then you're doing it right. And if they're not, then you need to evaluate it. The other thing you could do is you could bring in an objective third party. And I've done this a lot. In fact, I talked about this in the Iron Council the other day. I had a situation inside of our brotherhood, the Iron Council, that I felt like, I just got a little emotional. I got a little upset about it. And before I reacted to this situation, I reached out to Chris Gatchko, and I said, hey, Chris, here's kind of what I'm feeling. I feel like maybe this is my arrogance talking, my ego talking a little bit. Here's what I want to do, but I value your input. What are your thoughts? And he's like, yeah, that's your ego. That is your ego talking. Here's what I would suggest, and here's how I would like to handle it, because he was involved in the process. He said, I would like to handle it this way. And then if we need to go beyond that, then we'll go beyond that. And he handled it. And looking back a week later, he handled it to perfection. If I would have got involved, it would have went drastically different. Yeah. Not for the better either. So having objective third parties that care about you, that want you to win, that are brave enough and willing enough, and that you give them permission to tell you the truth and respond in an intelligent way to you, is a very, very good way to overcome excessive hubris, excessive pride and ego and arrogance that actually keep you from making rational decisions that are going to serve you and everybody else.
That's great. I feel like we should note-taking break. I want to take some notes.
Yeah, I'm writing these things down too, so that way I can make the show notes and tell everybody what it is we're talking about.
No, that's good. All right, next question. Derek Scott Plummer. I have the desire to create a side business of some kind, but I really struggle with coming up with ideas or business models that I am passionate about that I believe could actually make money. Any advice on this?
That last little segment was the catch. And I knew what it was. I haven't even read this correct question, and I knew exactly what was coming. That can make money. That's your hang up right there. I knew you were going to say that. And even if you didn't say it, I knew what you were thinking. Because look, you know what you're passionate about. All right. You know what you're excited about. You know what engages you. You know what you're thinking about at night when you can't sleep. You know what you get up thinking about. You know what you're doing when time is going the fastest. You know what you're doing when people are asking for you for advice. You know all of that. So don't say that you don't know something you're engaged or passionate about. Tell the truth, which is, I don't think I can make any money doing this. That's what I think it is. Now, I was going to share a friend of ours, Sean Whale, you know, Sean, right?
Yeah.
So, he made this post and he said that they were basically the picture. It was a picture of a dildo. Okay. And it said, there's people out there who are making millions of dollars selling these plastic things in the shape of a penis. So what's your problem? And although it's very irreverent because that's who Sean is, right?
Yeah, totally.
It's true.
It's funny.
There's people selling some of the dumbest things out there and offering the dumbest service. There's people buy pet rocks. Okay? People charge other people to cuddle. People charge people to go on walks and hold their hand with them. And you're telling me you don't know how you can make money? We're making money by telling men how to be men. That sounds, to me, sometimes that sounds absurd.
Yeah, it does sound funny.
People are making a living doing some crazy, crazy shit. So stop for a second focusing on the money component. That will come. You'll be able to develop that and you'll be able to articulate and figure out and experiment and test. That will come. I promise you. For now, take what you're passionate and you're excited about and immerse yourself in it. Learn about it. Go to conferences about it. Share your experiences. One of the things I started following recently is these guys who do blacksmithing. I just think that's so cool.
It is.
They take this big, unrefined, unreformed hunk of metal and they put it in fire and they pound the shit out of it and they shape it and they forge it and they harden it and they scrape away at it and they beat at it and it turns into this axe blade or a knife or a sword or whatever it is they're creating. And I just think that is so cool. Well, okay, there's guys making money doing that. They're selling knives, they're selling axe handles, they're selling courses on how to become a blacksmith. Opportunities are abound. So just find what's engaging to you and immerse yourself into it. Share all of your experiences and just recognize that as you build this up, people will come. People will follow you. People will be excited about what you're doing. People will ask to buy things of yours, or they'll ask to be coached. And these opportunities are what present themselves for you to take what is a passion or a hobby and turn it into a lucrative business for yourself.
There you go, Derek. All right. How are we doing on time?
Let's take maybe one or two more.
Okay. Michael Key. How can I get and stay motivated when I get no support at home? Damn home.
Get it somewhere else. Nobody's entitled to give you stuff. Your family's not obligated to support you. Now, should they? Yeah, sure, of course they should.
Yeah.
But I talk with a lot of guys who say my wife doesn't support me. Well, why should she? Well, I don't know. I just kind of think she should. Well, I don't think that's true at all. I think you got to earn some of that. And how do we earn it? We earn it by being men of our word. Some guy said the other day, just sent me an email. He said, "Hey, I'm thinking about starting this side business, and I don't really have my wife's support. She says I shouldn't. I say I should." And I asked him. I said, "Well, tell me about your track record." And he wrote back. He was very truthful, to his credit. He said, "I don't have a great track record. I've started a lot of things and haven't followed through on them. I've made commitments and I don't uphold them." He was very truthful about it.
Yeah.
And I said, well, there you go. The result is your wife doesn't believe in you fully. And as uncomfortable as that is to understand and to hear, it's a great indicator that you need to begin to be a man of your word by taking out the trash when you say you will, by making your bed, by cleaning up, by making your kids' game, by turning the phone off when you say you will, by leaving work at the office because you said you would. All these little things that you make in a commitment to your wife, when you do those things, you build up a reserve, a bank account, if you will, an emotional capital with your significant other. Now, when you say, "Hey, hon, I'm going to start this thing," she might still think you're crazy, but at least she believes in you. So when I started Order of Man, and if we had my wife on here, in fact, when she did come on, and we did that interview together, somebody had asked, did you initially believe in him? And she said something to the effect of, I didn't necessarily believe in the thing that he was doing, but I believed in him because I have a track record of success with her. When I say I'm going to do something, whether it's I say I'm going to go to the gym, or I say I'm going to make the vacation work, or I'm going to get out of bed at this time, or I'm going to do this chore because I said I would. When I say I'm going to do those things, I do those things. And every time I do, I build up the reserves. And so when I offer something crazy, like I'm going to teach men how to be better men, she doesn't say, that's stupid. She says, I don't quite understand that, but cool. How are you going to make it work? What are you going to do? I'm excited to see what you do. And that's why she's always been on board with me, because barring a few years of messing up in my life, I've been pretty consistent with being a man of my word. So if you're not getting the support at your home, there might be a reason for that, a valid reason for that.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, get support from the people that other people that do support you. You might have friends or a band of brothers or a colleague or a coworker or an investor. And you're going to have to prove yourself at home before you get that support.
The first part of Michael's question was, how does he stay motivated, right? Or get and stay motivated when he doesn't have that support? And we're kind of saying they might be a little bit disconnected, right? In some cases, you may not have the support. So in that instance, what's your guidance and direction around getting and staying motivated?
Well, who are you doing it for? Why do you need their support to do it?
Yeah.
Kip, I don't need your support to know that Order of Man is a great thing. I love your support. I appreciate your support. I'm glad you're here sharing this mission with me. But you know what? Frankly speaking, if you weren't here, does that mean I wouldn't do Order of Man? No. Yeah. If I didn't have the support of my wife and my kids, would I still be doing Order of Man? You're damn right I would. If nobody listened to this podcast, would I still be doing Order of Man? Yeah, you're damn right. How do I know that? Because I did. The first 10 to 20 to 30 episodes where nobody was listening except for my mom and my wife, I was still doing it. So like, you don't need, why are you doing it?
Yeah.
Are you doing it to win favor with certain people? Are you doing it for notoriety? Which, don't get me wrong, none of that is wrong necessarily. I don't think it's wrong to be inspired to be relevant in people's lives. I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily, but I do believe that's an inferior motivation. It's an exterior motivation which you can't fully control. What is it that's burning inside of you to fix this problem? For me, I grew up without a father figure. I don't want let me back up. I don't want kids to experience that. I don't want any son or daughter to ever grow up without a dad in their life. Now, is that realistic? Of course not. But I know I can make a dent. I know for a fact that I can save marriages through the work that we're doing here. And if I can save a marriage, that means I can have a more engaged husband, I can have a more engaged father, I can have a more engaged community leader, and I can impact men generationally. I know that. That lights me up. You can hear it in my voice. Yeah. That fires me up, man. That motivates me. Why? Because I experienced the other side of it. I know what it's like to ask, why doesn't my dad love me? Why is he not around? Why do I get to see all my buddies out there playing catch and going camping, and I don't have that in my life? Why can't I engage with these other boys? They seem like they have this like really good connection, and I don't have that with them. Why? Because I never had a dad to like connect with another man in my life. I went through a miserable separation. Fortunately, it didn't turn into a divorce, but I know of thousands and thousands and thousands of men who have gone through divorces and separations, you included in that. And I don't want any man to have to experience that. I can't fully solve that problem, but you're damn right that I can make a dent in the problem. And so when I'm feeling down on myself about why don't I have the reach and this isn't going as well as it is, and I'm doing podcast editing, which I hate, and I'm doing these stupid things that I don't like doing, and doing a social media post when I feel completely just pissed off and not wanting to do social media posts, that I connect back to what's propelling me forward, which is like, and I'm getting a little emotional here, but it's looking in children's eyes and seeing both sides, like seeing a son grow up with his father engaged, But then on the other side, look at a son whose dad isn't around. And so when things suck, I can look into those eyes and say, my work matters. My work is relevant. My work is important. It's critical. This is why I'm here. So that when times are hard, yeah, welcome to the club. Keep going, because I'm propelled to keep going.
That's great. I have to say this, some of us, some guys might be listening saying, I'm not going anywhere. I'm sticking around. But I would like to suggest, and Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's possible, guys, to be in our homes and not be around. So the impact that Ryan's talking about doesn't mean that you have to, like, that negative impact is only present if you get divorced. Oh, no. That negative impact could be in your home right now if you're not doing your job as a father.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you hear Ryan getting, somewhat emotional about this, or you see the passion. Well, guys, we should have that same passion. We should have that same passion, whether we're divorced or not, because that is still at stake, even if we're at home, if we're not present with our kids and doing our job.
100%. Should we call it a day?
Yeah.
I think that's a good one to end on.
Yeah. So if you want to put the pressure on Ryan having to do those stupid negative social media posts, start following.
They're not always. They're just sometimes.
Don't worry. I think I have 700 followers is all. In fact, my son Callie reminds me that he has more followers than me all the time.
We need to get Kip some more followers.
Yeah,
What's
because
your Instagram handle.
What is it? I don't know. Maybe that's my problem.
You have 700 followers.
Well, the funny thing is, it's not. We're moving on. So anyhow,
look Kip up. Kip Sorensen. Look him up.
Connect with Ryan on Instagram at Ryan Mickler. There's a couple Instagram accounts, but the at Ryan Mickler is the more active one of the two. And then you also do some Twitter at Order of Man.
Some tweeting here and there.
Some tweeting. We field these questions primarily through three sources. The first is patreon.com/Order of Man. The second is the Iron Council. And the third is the Facebook group, which is facebook.com/groups/Order of Man.
However you want to look at it.
Oh man, it's crazy. I can't stop. And we've talked about tons of things. And I have to say this, guys, half these questions are things that we cover in the Iron Council.
More. I mean, we cover all these things, right?
Yeah. In fact, a couple of the questions had to do with last month's subject, which we kind of have a theme or a subject of the month, and we have questions and assignments and discussions around that given topic and a corresponding book in which we communicate about. And so, guys, if you're ready to get on the court, level up, find like-minded men to rub shoulders with, join us in the Iron Council. And you can learn more at orderofman.com/Iron Council. And what else? Do we have time to order stuff on the store? Maybe you need to order if you're expecting something for Christmas.
Today is the 11th. We're releasing this on the 13th.
Tomorrow. Yeah. You got to act now.
Not tomorrow, Friday. So Friday to the 13th. So yeah, I would say if you don't get an order in by this week, you're probably not going to hit the cutoff, just with as busy as mailing has been over the past several weeks. Yeah. So I would get it ordered today, which is as of the release of this, which is Friday, or you may be a little late on the stuff, on the goods.
Yeah. And is it official? Did the vote prove that there's going to be future Order of Man Ranger panties?
No, the vote proved anything but that.
It was not sufficient.
No.
I was curious what the number would have to be for you to say, okay, yeah, we'll do an order.
Well, I mean, there was probably 150 or so people who said they would.
Yeah.
There was 340 or something that said they wouldn't. So the numbers are just skewed. And anytime 100 people say they would, you're probably going to get 10% of that.
Yeah.
It's just, and I even told them, I said, don't say yes unless you are going to. And I guarantee you, if I said, okay, and I messaged all the guys that I had the Ranger panties available, I'd sell 10
your money.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's
which speaks to the commitment thing that we were talking about earlier, right?
totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
All right, man. Well, let's call it a day, guys. I hope all's going well for you. This was a good episode. Really good conversation. Great questions.
Yeah.
I think we've got a few more that are kind of stragglers. We're going to be qualifying these questions a little bit more so we get the best questions, so we can have the best conversations. But appreciate you being on this journey. Man, what can we say? We couldn't do it without you. So, Kip, I appreciate you as always. Guys, I appreciate you. Until next week, go out there, take action, become the man you are meant to be.